welcome to my review of the much anticipated Razer Viper V2 Pro, a follow-up to the successful and largely loved Razer Viper series. First of all, we bought this ourselves, it wasn't sent to us, and also I'm going to avoid comparing it to the G Pro Superlight as much as I can, that's for another video. So this mouse is 126.7mm long and weighs an incredibly light 58 grams. The shape is the exact same as the previous Viper mice, excluding the Viper Mini obviously. It's a rather low down ambidextrous design that to me is more focused towards those that prefer a claw grip. That's not to say those that palm grip their mice will be left out. I find this mouse comfortable still with all my fingers coming in contact and being supported by the mouse. Unfortunately, when I play first person shooters, any restraint goes out the window and I start squeezing it like I'm trying to turn coal into diamonds. What is also worth mentioning is that on their website they explain how they've shed the weight. This one is at 58 grams with the previous wireless Viper weighing 74. That's a lot of weight loss. And they show it in a comparison to the old ones and how they've achieved this, which I think is pretty neat. It's good to see some effort in explaining these sorts of things. They've even sacrificed RGB. The coating for this mouse is the same as most Razer mice. They've used a pretty coarse matte coating. It's one of my favourites personally. I do think that maybe some people could find this a bit irritating as it really is on the more coarse side. Fortunately though, if you really don't like the coating, you do get some grip tapes included, so if you dislike the coarseness of it, or if you feel like putting some grips on the mouse is the difference to get you out of ELO hell, then go nuts. I personally haven't put them on because I just really like this coating. The switches for this mouse are using the new Generation 3 Razer optical switches. Generation 2 has been thrown in the bin, because Generation 3 provides an extra 20 million clicks for a total of 90 million. These switches are optical, so to provide a summary to not bore you, it uses light to trigger the switch, so when you press down, light goes through to send the signal that a click has been made, and using science and technology, the rest is done using witchcraft. This means that it should be faster, and they say stop double clicking completely. So how do they sound? Like this. In terms of feel, I think they are okay. They aren't as good as the KLGM 8.0s that I feel are now just far greater than anything at the moment in terms of crispy consistency. The side buttons are perfectly placed, easy to reach with a roll of the thumb. With my grip type, I have no issues with these at all in any way. They work perfectly and consistently. The remaining buttons at the bottom, which is the on-off switch and the DPI controller. The scroll wheel is also perfect, I have no complaints about it at all. The notches are great, there's a good amount of feedback between each of them, and the mouse 3 button is also super consistent, with a good amount of force to actually trigger it. Overall, it's a great scroll wheel. For the dirt check, I mean it's going to gather dirt in some places and there are a few divots in areas and there's some minor little slopes going down into the mouse which I believe could probably get quite a bit of dirt in it, but overall it's not that bad, and I'd say that the non-sticky coating will probably help quite a bit. For feet, you get 4 100% virgin PTFE feet. These have felt brilliant on all the mouse pads that I've used, such as the Vaxi Outset, the G640 and the MPC 450. It's incredibly smooth, the balance with the inclusion of a sensor rig makes it a joy to move, no issues at all, and it has a good thickness so there's no scraping, but they are still quite small. For wireless performance, well, it's brilliant with the USB adapter allowing you to have the dongle as close or far away from the mouse that you want. It's been pretty much flawless in the time that I've used it. It's using Razer's Hyperspeed Wireless, which they say is 3 times faster than their closest rival. Anyway, you're looking at around about 80 hours of battery life with this. Because of the lack of RGB, it's really getting some juice out of it. So far it hasn't gone flat for me at all yet, and this has constantly been used for a long time now. It's charged with USB Type-C as well, with a universal charging cable so you can use it for other devices, and on the mouse the port is sitting quite deep inside, so there's a bit of stability and security if you have to play with it plugged in for a round. The cable is also a power-corded one. Honestly, it's fantastic. If you plug it in, it's not going to cause a major headache as it's very light. For software, I'm going to contain myself as much as possible as I do have a passionate disdain for Razer Synapse. Luckily, you don't have to use it. The default DPI values are 400, 800, 1600, 3200 and 6400. Now in the actual Synapse software, it's okay, laid out clearly, no clutter and fuss, but I still hate Synapse for one thing. It still calls you a guest if you don't make a Razer ID. And I spent £150 on this mouse and, you know, it's calling me a guest. I don't like it. The sensor for this one is the new PAW3950, which might be a Razer exclusive for a bit. Details are not known, but most of the time a company can use a exclusive sensor for about a year before anyone else. Logitech did the same previously. Anyway, this is the Razer Focus Pro, they call it. Supports up to 30,000 DPI, improved acceleration and accuracy, but also some people might be happy it's also able to track on glass as long as it's 2mm thick at least. You can also change the lift-off distance and the landing distance with this sensor as well, so it's packed with all sorts of goodies that you can use as an excuse for missing your shots. It feels great. Can I tell the difference? Not really, but I am not someone that likes to delve into numbers and graphs. I used to years ago and found it very damaging to my enjoyment of games because sensor performance became an obsession. Now I just try and not dwell on the numbers as much anymore. Usage in-game has been brilliant. I have loved this so much. Playing Apex has been comfortable for long durations. There's been no discomfort from holding it despite it not being the greatest for my grip type. But it's also been really comfortable to use in a general casual setting as well. It's honestly a fantastic mouse to use for gaming. The coating as well helps it give a bit of extra grip. And again, knowing that you have some high tier hardware is always a good thing, but you know, it gives me less things to blame in game. For the cost, it is a bit steep. It's around $150, £150 and €160 at the time of this review, which is definitely at the higher end of things. However, I do feel that this mouse is worth it. Because you are getting a perfect product with some industry-leading hardware inside, it's a complete package as well. There's nothing with this mouse that I wish that they had included or missed either. You also get a 2-year warranty with it as well, which is very important when you're spending the big bucks. If this wasn't Razer, but a smaller company that has somewhat brought out the same mouse over and over again with different materials and used influencers to constantly hype up their products and also don't make them freely available and even go as far as to make people play a video game to get a chance to win one of the mice, I would probably say use some caution. But I feel like Razer has put some effort into this to really do a slam dunk on the mouse market. So overall, I can highly recommend this mouse. I would say it's perfect. Maybe the only thing I don't like is Synapse, but really it's not needed to install unless you have a specific DPI that you need. I was a bit doubtful on whether or not the rumored price would be justifiable, and I would say that it has been justified. They've really made a complete product with the best possible technology. I think maybe the closest mice that could reach this is possibly the Superlight, but also the Fnatic Bolt, but those will be explored in another video.